Squadron Leader Tim Kemp, Navigator Flight Lieutenant Dave Coombe, and Flight Engineer Sergeant Nick Crook. The BCJ has spearheaded user requirements from service. Remains very much on the front line, currently serving on deployment in Afghanistan and supporting the Typhoons stationed in the Falklands. Then comes the Lockheed Hercules, flown by a crew from number 30 Squadron, the aircraft captain Flight Lieutenant Mark Brodie, co-pilot Flight Lieutenant Al Farmer, and airload master Sergeant Aidan Street. The Hercules forced a mixture of the remaining C-130K models, the Marks 1 and 3, and the newer C-130Js in the form of the Marks 4 and 5 has been involved in continual overseas taskings for the last 20 years, today heavily engaged in Afghanistan. Third up, the Lockheed Tristar from number 216 Squadron, another tanker transport type slated for replacement in the coming years. It's captained today by Squadron Leader Steve Pollard, joined by co-pilot Flight Lieutenant James Corbin, Flight Sergeant Neil Charlton as Flight Engineer, and Flight Sergeant Carl Temple Fielder as Air Load Master. A new workhorse of the RAF's air mobility fleet, now the Boeing C-17A Globemaster III of number 99 Squadron. From an initial fleet of 4 leased aircraft, the first of which was delivered in 2001, the C-17 force has expanded to 8, now RAF owned outright, the 8th having just been delivered this May. Combining tactical and strategic transport attributes, it proved an outstanding asset. The crew today, headed by aircraft captain Flight Lieutenant Chris Knight, with co-pilot Flight Lieutenant Annabelle Bacon and Air Load Master Paul Bomber Harris. And bringing up the rear, the future of the RAF's tanker transport fleet, the Airbus Voyager KC-1, based upon the Airbus A330-200 multi-role tanker transport. Here we see the sole example currently flying from Bryce Norton, operated by number 10 Squadron, from which comes the aircraft captain, Flight Lieutenant Reg Arminu, joined today by co-pilot Flight Lieutenant James Davies and Mission Systems Operator Flight Lieutenant Steve Sansford. 14 of these aircraft are being provided to the RAF under a contract with the Air Tanker Consortium. And following therein, test pilots Ed Strongman and Anthony Flynn with the Airbus military A400M, now known as the Atlas. That's the name it'll carry when it enters RAF service. There are 5 test examples of the A400M now flying. The 5th made its maiden flight in December last year, and they're performing around 4,300 hours of development and qualification testing prior to service entry. All 5 of them, you may have seen in some of the aviation media, flew together for the first time in June. The 7th airframe, which will be the first for the aircraft's first operator, the French Air Force, is currently in assembly and is scheduled for its maiden flight in August prior to delivery in December. The A400M test program has progressed rapidly of late. Some recent milestones: clearance of loading trials with Eurocopter EC725 and NH90. The BCJ-K3 model there. Finally, the Lockheed Hercules, flown by a crew from number 30 Squadron, comprising aircraft captain Flight Lieutenant Mark Brodie, co-pilot Flight Lieutenant Al Farmer, and airload master Sergeant Aidan Street. The Hercules force, today comprising a mixture of the remaining C-130K models and the newer Js, has been involved in continual overseas taskings for the last 20 years. Today, Hercules Detachment is maintained at Kandahar, including equipment and personnel around Afghanistan for ISAF. Third up, the Lockheed Tristar from the 216 Squadron, another tanker transport type slated for replacement in the coming years. It's captained today by Squadron Leader Steve Pollard, joined by co-pilot Flight Lieutenant James Corbin, Flight Engineer Flight Sergeant Neil Charlton, and Air Load Master Flight Sergeant Neil Gibson. A newer workhorse of the RAF air mobility fleet now, the Boeing C-17A Flypast, the 3-year number 99 squadron. From the initial fleet of 4 leased aircraft, the C-17 force has expanded to 8. The 8th having been only delivered this May, combining tactical and strategic transport attributes, proved an outstanding asset. The crew today is headed by aircraft captain Flight Lieutenant Chris Knight, with co-pilot Squadron Leader Ned Wood and Air Load Master Paul Harris. Bringing up to the main section, the Tristar of the RAF tanker transport fleet, the Airbus Voyager KC-1 on the A330-200 MRTT. Here we see the sole example currently flying from Bryce Norton, operated by number 10 Squadron, from which comes the aircraft captain, Flight Lieutenant Reg Armianu, joined today by co-pilot Flight Lieutenant James Davies and mission systems operator Flight Lieutenant Steve Stansford. 14 of these aircraft are being provided to the RAF under a contract with the Air Tanker Consortium. And finally, the aircraft named at RIAT on Friday, the Airbus A400M, now known as the Atlas. The A400M is strongly, just confirming with the power that he'll be turning downwind and coming in for a full stop landing, which expects to show something of the aircraft's tactical capabilities. So this too is both a practical and a strategic air experience. He's going to service first with the French Air Force. As we look at the production aircraft currently in assembly, due to make a major flight in August and be delivered to the French in December. What we see here is the 6th of the 5 A400M prototypes. 5 of which are together for the first time in June of this year.